I have here a piece of paper, and on it are all your questions, because every time you leave a comment, I do take a note, and I will answer as many of them as I can through videos, and sometimes also you'll see we do them together, me and Jane. But the question I've had here today is how do mediums hear voices? Okay, so how? Okay, and what are those voices? I suppose we need to answer first. Now, if I was to be sat in front of a psychiatrist, and a psychiatrist said to me, "Do you hear voices?" I'd have to reply, yes, but not quite in the way you're asking the question, because a medium does not hear voices in the same way someone with a mental illness would hear voices. A person with mental illness will hear a discarnate voice talking to them, and often that voice is threatening, often that voice is part of their illness and telling them to do things they don't want to do and things like that. It's an out of control, almost evil feeling, and for people that have mental illness, this is an awful thing to have to deal with, but it is a psychological problem, not a spirit voice. Even though sometimes, I must say, people with psychiatric disorders do have a certain amount of ESP, but those voices they're hearing, I don't believe are anything to do with spirit or demons or whatever. When I hear a voice, and when other mediums hear a voice, it's an inner hearing, right? It's an inner hearing. It's a bit like, now, if you were to try to, supposing you could remember the voice of, say, your grandmother or something, if you recall it in your mind, what was the voice of my grandmother like? You know, my grandmother came from around Wigan and that, so her voice had that distinctive sound, and if I remember it in my mind, I can hear it. I can hear the voice, you know, but I'm not hearing it with my ears, am I? I'm hearing it as I am recalling a memory. And when you kind of hear, as it were, a voice when you're doing mediumship, it's a bit like recalling a memory of a voice. That's as I say it. And yet it has that quality, and yet it's live and aware and communicative, right? So it's like a voice popping into your head, and it's like, you know, tell them to, you know, tell the person you're communicating with that I'm the dad, I'm dad, or they might say their name, my name, and you might feel it in different ways when you're doing these mediumistic communications. You might get a sense of them almost poking you to say, you know, or you might get a feeling of an association with a name, for example. So if they're saying the name John to me, for example, I might get a flash in my mind at the same time of people I've known in my life with the name John, and I think, oh, that's it, connect, John. See? So it doesn't work quite in the way of voices in my ear. It's more like a voice is connected to a whole stream of thought processes. It's not just a voice, right? That's how I can best describe it. It's kind of like remembering a voice, almost. It's the same quality of a remembered voice than it is a heard voice. So what we mediums do is a form of subjective clairvoyance. We are hearing it inwardly, and then we're relaying the information. And when we give the information, and that information can be verified by the person in front of us, then we know that that voice is not some mad, crazy voice inside my head, but has real validity to it, because it can be accepted by the person in front of me. And that differentiates that voice from the voice of someone with a mental illness to the voice of a mediumistic person that's hearing real voice. It's getting the true verification is the only way you can prove that voice is real. Now, in spiritualism, there is also the discarnate voice. Now, this is something, this is like objective clairvoyance, in which the mediumship happens outside of the medium. This is a form of like physical mediumship, and there were mediums in the past. There's some that claim to do this today, but I've not seen any that I can personally verify. But there are still mediums around, I expect, that can do what we call discarnate voice. Now, what happens with that is that the people will sit in a darkened room in a circle, and the medium will usually go into a trance, and a voice will be heard around the room. Now, that's not heard clairvoyantly, it's not heard inside my head or inside the head of the people sat there. Everyone will hear it at the same time. This is when a voice box is created by an ectoplasm. It's called as an ectoplasmic voice box. Ectoplasm's like a in-between state between matter and spirit. It's a form of something that creates this ability for the spirit to communicate in a physical way. There's been a lot of cheating gone on in the past, so often we have to discount a lot of it. But I believe a lot of it is also true. And this will be when a voice is heard and everybody else hears it. That's objective clairvoyance. That's That's clairvoyance happening in the objective world. Something very different to the mental voice that a medium will hear, the inner mental voice, the like the remembered voice that I described. So that's what the voices are that mediums hear. How we do it is by listening within. We have to listen within. So if I'm doing a mediumistic communication and I want to get the name of someone, and it's often harder to get the names, I find, with mediumship, because we're using almost the rational part of the mind rather than the intuitive part. That's why I think it's the more difficult. But if we do that, we have to ask a question ourselves. So if I've got a spirit communicator with me and I feel it's a man, I have to say, who are you? What's your connection with us? You family? And I might say family. Are you what? Close family? Yes, father. Okay, I've got the father. Name. Can you give me your name? J name. Okay, no, what's the name? John. What's the surname? Higgins. All right. So and so on. I mean, that's just it could be any name, of course. But that's how it comes. So that's how we do it. We have to ask within, and we almost hear a name. We hear it come. And the art and the difficulty is learning to distinguish between which are your own thoughts and which are the thoughts that are being given to you. And that's where the training comes in to become a medium, and why one has to go into what we call the stillness. We have to be able to create an inner stillness within us so that the spirit world can seed those ideas into our mind, away from all the clutter and noise of our own internal dialogue. Alright, I said it was going to be short. I'm sorry, it's not. But that basically is how mediums hear voices. Thanks. Oh, and if you've got any questions about that, please put them in the comments. And I want to hear what you have to say. You might want to expand on that, and you might have more questions yourself. So please do use the comment columns and on here on YouTube. And if this is published on Facebook, do the same. And also come to my website and ask questions too. Okay, see you next time. If you enjoy my channel, why not come and also join us on Facebook Live? Jane and myself broadcast regularly where you can ask questions and join in the fun of the psychic chat. Join us on Facebook Live.